Uh, and da, 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 da. Yeah, I come from a really small town. Think of the littlest, most nothing happens here. City extended layover and your flyover state nightmares, and my hometown's quieter than that. Half a mile or more between neighbors. Single main street downtown. A McDonald's, department store, movie theater with 3 screens. Everybody goes Friday and Saturday night. Church on Sunday. Everyone knows everyone else, or at least knows their business. The whole city's invested in the fortunes of the high school football team. That kind of place. A graduating class of 60. Not because the senior class was dumb, it was a tiny high school. I didn't really fit in at school and kind of was a loner by choice. I cringe about it now that I am almost 26, but was a wannabe emo goth rocker. I still got invited to party with the other kids, not because they like me necessarily, but because it's just one of many people to invite. My mom baked cookies and cakes for church, and when she wasn't doing that, she cuts hairs in the town's only salon. Dad owns an internet cafe for a while when those were hot. Once everyone, even in our little nowhere town, got Wi-Fi, he turned into a tax service. Business is always slow because most people did their own, but he didn't really depend so much on his business. Served 20 years as a petty officer in the Navy, so he and his mom got by on pension. In high school, I worked at the private burger place that competed mostly unsuccessfully against the town's single-chain fast food restaurant. Boss always told me I should ask my mom to cut my hair to stop looking like a dang girl. No thanks, Samuel. With all the boredom everywhere, you can imagine the sensation. There we go. The sensation Miss Amber Fontaine caused when the high school hired her to be the 11th and 12th grade English teacher. Miss Fontaine was of French extraction and had moved to America in her late teens to go to college in New York. She was only 24 and was very beautiful. She spoke perfect English, but did so with a very pleasant accent. All the guys loved her, and lots of women hated her. She appeared oblivious to all the attention, however, and just stuck to her job. We didn't know much about her too much. Mostly kept to herself. Nobody ever saw her hanging out with any men in town, and it wasn't for the lack of the men that she had just taken the job. No, wait, no. Oops. It wasn't for the lack of men trying. It's clear she wasn't entertaining any of the men Darcy had to offer. I found out that she had just taken a job in our small town to gain experience with a future goal of being a college professor in a big city. A 2-year plan of sorts. Obviously, I had a crush on her. We all did. It was still a small church-going town. Nobody really acted out on his urges or tried to harass her or anything like that. As guys, we'd talk about how hot she was amongst ourselves. Usual locker room stuff teenage boys do. But that was it. My one real out-of-school experience with Miss Fontaine was she stopped by the burger joint I worked at and saw me working there. Told me I had a nice smile, and she wished I smiled more because in school I was always frowning. Because I was in my emo, everything sucks phase. When the food preppers came up with her food and handed it to me to give it to her, I was impressed and not at all surprised she ordered a salad. She didn't strike me as someone who ate the greasier slop we sold here. In school the following Monday, she smiled at me in the hall and I smiled back. She said, "You're learning," but not in a condescending, patronizing, a fun, kidding way, though. I exchanged a smile with her every time after that. And that was the extent of my great high school romance with Miss Fontaine. Exchanged a few hellos and smiles during my senior year when I was 17. Things changed the following year. I was 18 and still working at the burger joint when Miss Fontaine came to the restaurant saying, "Oh, hey." She asked me real serious, "Are you going to college?" I told her the truth. I'm working with my band. I cringed about this period of my life too. Playing guitar and saving money for community college. Sort of truth about the last thing. Most of my money, honestly, would be spent on weed and ecstasy. I was the main vocalist in addition to being guitarist, and our band's only other members were Jerry, the bassist, and Gabe, the drummer. Both of them were just out of high school like me. Like me, they had no plans for it. Gabe worked at the same burger joint as me. Jerry, who's been one of my best friends in high school, ironically worked at the chain fast food restaurant down the street. Our lives at this time revolve around wasting our youth, skateboarding, getting high, and playing in our punk band. We like to think that we played in emo punk metal fusion, but looking back, our sound didn't age well. Miss Fontaine tells me, now that she is in her second year of teaching, a better sense of how to do things. She tells me she wishes that her current students are well behaved and put as much effort as me. I earned mediocre grades throughout school, but consistently earn an A in English because I like to read. She says she'll see me around. Days later, she comes to the restaurant. We get to talking and then asks me if I'd like to go to a movie. I can tell she's bored because there's really no one her own age for her to hang out with in the towns, and if there are lame. I think we both get the feeling that it's natural we should hang out. Now that I was completely out of high school and she wasn't my teacher, we were both adults. By the time I was newly 18 and she had just turned 25. Why not? That's how it started. We'd met up in the early evenings, totally innocent, and go to the movies or to dinner at one of the good restaurants in town. Miss Fontaine was cool about letting me slide when it came to paying for our dates because she knew I made minimum wage. It was actually me who started to push our relationship to the next level. After a while, I started to hold her hand when we walked places, and finally we started kissing. Never in front of anyone. She just taught me a lot of French words and phrases over the next summer and fall while we were going out. My parents knew I was sort of dating my former teacher, but since it was keyword former, they didn't really raise a stink about it. Miss Fontaine would always try to convince me to go to college, but did see our band play a few times when we got a rare gig at the roller rink. She was nice enough not to tell us what she really thought of us. We didn't have sex until we had been dating casually for nearly 2 months. That was my main idea, but she admitted that she really liked me and she wanted it to happen since we reconnected earlier that year after I graduated. I'm not the kiss and tell, but my bandmates sort of knew the dynamic in my relationship with Miss Fontaine. She had been Amber ever since we first made out. They appeared cool with it. I stopped doing so much dope and really began putting money to save for college. The JC near my house was super cheap. Amber would often tell me she thought about applying there, but said she really wanted to move to the West Coast or back to the East Coast to teach at a college. Eventually, she told me she'd like me to come with her. Now that's what I call sex ed. After a few months, I was in love with Amber, and she was in love with me. We didn't throw our relationship in people's faces or show public affection. Let's not only we pretended not to know each other. Amber had come around the house, and my parents liked her and thought she was a great influence. I didn't exactly cut my hair, but I was neater and more presentable, and eventually I really did begin enrolling in GE classes at the local 2-year college. But things went downhill fast. Out of seemingly nowhere, Amber got a call in for a meeting with the local school board. This is my secondary account of the situation, as Amber was the one there, not me. Reports she was dating a former student romantically. I know they're talking about me. And that she was having a sexual relationship with the student when he was still a minor and attended high school. She denied everything. Of course, they believed nothing. She sent me a desperate text, and since ours is a small town, I was at the meeting in literally 10 minutes. I told them the truth. I was in her class in 12th grade. I was her student, and that was all. I told the truth that we reconnected several months after graduation, and only then did we begin dating, and I was over 18. The opinion of the board was essentially, look, son, we appreciate it by where you're making to defend your friend's honor, but we're looking for the truth here, not omissions. I insisted I was telling them the truth and not trying to cover anything up. After a lot of tears, Amber was simply warned that it wasn't becoming of a teacher to be seen with students outside campus, even if they were former students. And we assumed that was all. We were really wondering who complained about us or would make up tales about us having sex while I was still a minor and a student of Amber's. I was staying at Amber's apartment by this time. I kicked in a portion of the rent. I even met her parents, only on webcam. Good people, don't speak a lot of English, but Amber filled them in on missing pieces. They knew my age and they were cool about it. We assumed it was just small town gossip and it would be blowing over. But we were wrong. Over the next several weeks after Amber's meeting with the school board, vicious rumors spread about her. I won't insult your imagination. You know what people could say. One day my boss at the burger joint just told me he had to let me go. A flim-flam excuse about the store losing money and my hairstyle was driving away customers. Amber told me it wasn't my fault and promised to support me while I looked for another job. One day she would be fired, working as a probationary teacher. During her first 2 years, she could be fired for any reason, and actually no reason had to be even given. Explanations were for those who earned tenure. We both know why she was getting fired, but the district strongly implied it was simply because she was an ineffective teacher. In her defense, I looked at the data on the district website, and the number of students from our school who did well on standardized tests in her subject leaped by double-digit points during the time she was a teacher there. Her numbers were far above the state average, and to this day, since her departure, those same scores nosedived. She told me the students tended to respond well to her, and she was very popular among the students. It was true she was immensely popular when I was a student, and I'll assume the same carried true the year after I graduated. Aside from the obvious fact that she was eye candy, she was simply a good teacher and a good person, and that's why the kids liked her. Lots of students threatened to riot when she fired, but being the non-dramatic, non-attention-seeking person she is, she asked them to just focus on the studies and to do well. It helped her teacher adjust when he or she arrived to take the place. My dad told her she ought to sue the district, but Amber didn't want the drama. Besides, she said, she was allowed to resign so that it wouldn't show up on her record as her having been fired. She also says the district promised not to try to revoke her teaching credentials. Her own parents suggested maybe she ought to come home to friends, but she insisted on sticking it out in America. My parents were cool in that they offered to let her move in with us while she figured her life out. She's lucky her parents love me, and we could start new there. Oh wait, I skipped the line. She's lucky that her parents are well off because they gave her some money to relocate to California. She asked me to come with her, that she loved me, and we could start new there. I always wanted to move to California, so I jumped at the chance. My parents were happy that I was in a relationship with a good person who cared about me, obviously, and gave us some money too. We got an apartment in Los Angeles. Neither of us drove, so we both got bikes to get around. Our new area was a world apart from my old life, though I know Amber's own teenage years were in Paris, so Los Angeles wouldn't be as much of a culture shock for her. I immediately enrolled in a local community college and got a job as a waiter in a popular French restaurant. Our gimmick was that some of the servers spoke French. Over the last several months, Amber taught me a lot of French, so I was a popular server at that restaurant because I gave it authenticity. Unfortunately for Amber, the school district misled her about her teacher license. When they promised not to have her license revoked, they spoke the truth, but they left out the part where they would attach an official reprimand to it and accuse her of inappropriate relationships with students under her charge. So whenever Amber applied for teaching jobs, they would immediately come up as a red flag on her applications. Another surprise red flag was that the schools she applied to would notice that she was fired from the last job. No, I wasn't. I resigned, she said. Yeah, but it says here you were forced to resign to avoid termination. Amber is 7 years older than me, but I think in some ways I know a lot more about how nasty Americans can be to her. Everywhere she went, the doors were slammed career-wise. She appealed to the state teaching license organization, and they said they'd look into it. Months later, nothing came up. Calls to former school resulted in her getting a runaround. No one knew anything. For the next several months, I was paying our day-to-day bills and helping to support Amber, though I must acknowledge that the loans both our sets of parents gave us helped tremendously. We couldn't survive without them. Finally, one day, Amber tells me, you know what? Fuck trying to teach public school. Oh, by the way, I'm pregnant. 2 pieces of good news. Many months later, Amber and I are happily married. Wedding was beautiful, sunny in Los Angeles. Amber's parents and mine and our families all attended. We had a pregnant honeymoon in France. We now have a son, Richelieu. I cannot pronounce that shit. I am closing in on earning my AA in information technology. I've been promoted to maitre d' at the restaurant and have health benefits for my wife and son. We lived in a studio apartment, but it's a huge studio. Enough for now. Amber stays home with the baby, but she also teaches online English and French courses for a private school. Even though she's blacklisted from teaching in the public K-12 district, she can still teach, which is her passion. More months pass. I got my first job in IT, troubleshooting computers for a small company downtown. I make double what I used to at the restaurant, and my employer has a program where I can finish my bachelor's associates. While I work, they will subsidize 50% for free. The other 50% they will dock for my pay in small monthly installments. An amazing deal, and I take it. We moved to a bigger apartment. Amber is making her awesome contribution, both to some mother and to our finances with her tutoring. We're planning for her to eventually go back to school for a graduate's degree so she can finally fulfill her dream of teaching in college. Oh, poor good news, Sophie. I'm pregnant again. Okay. Life has been sweet. But while everything was going awesome one day, I got a text from Mom. She was at a local school board meeting with her neighbors regarding a bill proposal to hire more teachers. Apparently, over the past few years, the population has grown and the high school needed to expand. It's now a 2-horse town. In a sense. While she was at the meeting, my mom ran into Jerry's mom. Remember Jerry, the bassist from my old band that I quit once I got into a serious relationship. My mom never met Jerry or his mom, or at least in a way that connected them to me. The reason was because I never brought Jerry around our house. For a couple of years, Jerry was my drug supplier. He had the hookup for anything you wanted. What does all this have to do with anything? Okay. My mom doesn't know Jerry's mom, but she hears her and some other lady talking about me and Amber. My mom heard them saying that Jerry had been the one to tell everyone about Amber and me supposedly having sex before I graduated. And his mom went straight to the school board. Their names as informers were protected under confidentiality. I lost touch with Jerry over the years and I stopped playing music with him long ago. I knew he resented all the time that I was spending with my chick. A shame because he used to be such a good friend of mine. Sucked that he went behind my back to get my now wife and mother of my child and soon to be children fired from her career. Jerry's mom was a teacher at Amber's former school of employment. It became a joke of ours that his mom had such a huge stick up her ass for reprimanding regarding prim and proper behavior and was good two-shoes teacher whose shit does stink. I'm sorry, doesn't stink. Yet her kid Jerry, a student at her school, is basically the biggest drug dealer in town. Looking back, I know he had a crush on Amber too and was probably always resistant that I got to be in on a relationship with her and he didn't. I don't know, maybe because fucking jerk. She knows quality. I was interested to learn that Jerry's mom was now on the school board. I didn't tell Amber about all this right away. I asked her to tell me what she remembered about Jerry's mom. She told me that she was always really mean to her, and often one of the main instigators in getting everyone, the adults on campus, to exclude her from teacher social activities. It's one of the main reasons why Amber didn't make friends with the other teachers. She tells me the male teachers tend to be nice to her at first, but female teachers overwhelmingly despised her before they even knew her. Jerry's mom, according to Amber, was also the teacher. She knows who started a petition now to not renew the contract for even the second year of the school. First, I heard about this. Evidently, a few female teachers signed a petition, but the petition was placed in Amber's permanent file as evidence that the staff lacked confidence in her. They were basically setting her up to be fired, even though she was doing a good job teaching and the students liked her. Well, how dare her be better? We want our kids to be fucking stupid. Well, I'm more Cali than Iowa these days, but I still kept in touch with a few kids that are now grown up that I knew from school. From what I hear, Jerry manages the burger joint I used to work at because the old guy who owns it retired. I have a social media account, but only used it to contact people in emergencies. I never update anything. My profile is practically blank. I'm not one of these people who checks it daily or uploads pics of my lunch. I didn't post about marrying or having kids or moving to LA. I told people that matter directly. Jerry was still my friend on social media, but we stopped talking ages ago. I clicked on his profile. He definitely manages my old place of employment. His friends' and family's profiles, I recognize his mom, my old history teacher. She's on the school board now, sanctimonious as ever. I think I mentioned before that I came from a small town. In a small town, there often isn't anything for bored kids to do other than dumb stunts and do drugs. For the biggest loser kid of all, a group included me, who were dumb enough to record themselves partying and talking shit and doing drugs. It's what my band used to do all the time. Whenever we had a show, we'd go around taping ourselves using cell phones. We'd take video of us rocking out, skating, drinking beer in the parking lot, taking video of us getting high, and we even talked to the camera. And I bet it's with those fucking Motorola Razors. I would hate to find that shit out. Excuse me. I haven't thought about the old recordings in years, but I never erased it from my old phones. I'm the kind of guy who hoards his old phones, not because I think they'll increase in value, or that I find them especially interesting, but I kind of think of them like file cabinets of my past. I don't erase anything. Aside for phone numbers, I don't really transfer data from one phone to a successor, easy as it would be. Our current boss knows I used to do drugs, and they don't care. In IT, I'm told everyone used to get lit, and many still do. I asked my wife offhand if her new job knows about what happened in our old town. She says, yeah, but they don't care anything about anything of that. They only care that she teaches expert level conversational French. That's what their clients, many of them traveling professionals, demand. Many of her co-workers has real felonies on their records, but her employer was a firm believer in rehabilitation. Keeping it copacetic. So I checked some of my old videos and found what I need. I have no trouble finding videos of Jerry getting high as a motherfucker. That's like practically every video. And in practically every video, he brags about how his parents know he's a druggie and a dealer and wants to ship him off to the army and make a man out of him. But the video I really want was not on this phone. The LG? Nah, more Jerry rolling ecstasy at the rave we snuck out of state just to attend in 11th grade. Whatever about the Galaxy. Wow, LG phones. I still have an LG phone and I want to get rid of that sucker. I'm not using it. Jerry talks about how his mom knows all about his drug use and sometimes he even smokes weed herself with his dad. And how they caught him with cocaine once and yelled at him and his dad kicked his ass. But Jerry came home the next day from school to find his mom was coked out on the kitchen table and she had called in sick that day. The video was even time-stamped. I think that'll do. I didn't tell Amber. It would only upset her in her condition. But I asked my mom for the contact info of all the people who are on the little town school board. I already know the school's basic email address, and I graduated not that long ago. Most of the administrators are still mid-career at my former high school. I still have your emails. I made a throwaway email account and attached a relevant video to it, sending it to everyone that mattered in town. The teachers, administrators, the elementary and middle schools, church, pizza place, burger joint owner, roller rink boss, you name it, they got it. The files where Jerry exposed himself as a coked-out drug dealer, with his mom having full knowledge of the fact, and her husband even indulging in the drugs themselves. The next day, Amber asked me, while feeding our son, "Honey, why are you so happy?" I told her, and she began to cry. She wasn't sad, she assures me. "I'm just so happy you did this for me." Me, Amber, Richie Lou, and our bun in the oven go for a walk because it was a nice day. I needed a haircut, but I'm not getting one. Do I even need to say what would happen afterward? All this ancient history shouldn't matter, but in a small town it's devastating. The videos are just Jerry talking trash. Who knows if he even's telling the truth? But it won't matter. When you're in a small town, the gossip become gospel. Kind of like how everyone believed Amber and I were fucking before I turned 18. Even though it was 0% true when they ran us out of town on a rail. Jerry got fired from his job. Police searched his house, well, his mom's house, because he still lived there, and found a lot of drugs. So he was telling the truth. Jail for you, douchebag! His mother was summarily dismissed from her job, along with all appropriate blacklisting, that being a drug-abusing child, endangering, fraud, committing public official and trails. My mom wasn't clear on the details, but there's a possibility she had her husband to face jail time too. Jerry's dad had been cheating on his wife for years with a woman from the church. Jerry's whole family are persona non grata. I don't know what that means. I don't know what this says, but let's see. Unacceptable or welcome person. Oh, they're the forbidden ones. Persona non grata. Unwelcomed. They can't even leave town, pending court case. They just had to be hated to their face. And I'll hate them from across country. Small town, everyone knows everyone. Or at least their business. Which means sooner or later, word will slip. People will drop the "it's confidential" charade and figured out I was responsible for a family's downfall. I don't give a fuck. Are you listening, Jerry? Good. Come at me, bro. We could do lunch. I tacked that on myself.